Hey, Farrell.
Brandon, my friend, I am, as we previously discussed, and I am been sick for a week, so that's my vocal fry, rasper voices.
Sorry to hear it. Yeah,
I'm also sober too for like a few weeks, so you're not gonna be any of that business before,
no, no seeing stars and no contemplating our places in the universe tonight. But yeah, I was gonna say this is our kind of reintroduction to starting to do our 100 Years podcast again, or at least start talking regularly and making it public, because that was always a fun thing to do.
Yes, sir.
So we don't have so much of a plan this time as much as just talking about what we've been up to, because we've both been kind of nose to the grindstone a bit lately.
Yeah, big time. I've been trying to get back in work mode. Started posting on my Patreon regularly. Sort of regularly for me, but then I got hit with this sickness last week, and a little debilitating as far as getting work done. But I feel like really good, mentally healthy, for the first time in I guess over a decade.
That's awesome. And that's just kind of the going sober.
Yeah. It's I turned 50, which I've talked about on the internet, I guess, but a little bit on my Patreon and stuff. But this is my I don't know, just announcing it to this. Maybe I shouldn't do this sober stuff. I was telling you a little earlier. It's like I still feel. I don't know if it's like from muscle memory or stuff, but I feel like I'm high half the time. Especially like the later it gets in the day, like around 2. It's like, I start to feel like, whoa, I feel like, kind of cloudy headed and stuff, a little foggy headed. But in general, I'm good. Like, as far as I don't feel like I have as much anxiety as I used to,
Yeah, I'm wondering how much it affects your kind of ability to work. Because I was always jealous of your ability to draw stoned and just kind of zone out on it, because I feel like I'm a very sober, like I don't even attempt to draw when I've drank or smoked anything. I just, have to be like it's caffeine and nothing.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like, I guess, around when I turned 30, maybe a little after that, I was hanging out with a friend, and I had this kind of weird, I like smoking weed every once in a while, but I was like, oh, I can't like ink a page high. That seems crazy. What if I mess up, or, what if I screwed up? And then I think that's, he would just put on like Baraka or something, some kind of weird movie with like, music playing or something else playing in the background. And that was when I first started doing drawings in my sketchbook that were just straight pen drawings. Mm-hmm. I didn't pencil it first or try to, I think you and I and, other cartoonists I know, we all have like different approaches to drawing, but like, I came from the like, oh, it's like how to draw comics the Marvel way, where you do a sketchy pencil drawing and then you ink it with a brush or, a dip pen or something. And sure. Like you've always just been, as long as I've known you, you can go to just drawing like straight stuff in your sketchbook, even with like pencil, or you could just do a nice real clean pencil drawing. And I know it takes like a different kind of concentration, but it was something about like not being hung up on like, whatever that process I had, where I just like took like a Micron pen at the time, like, or Faber-Castell pen or whatever. It was like, I'm just going to have fun drawing something and just let something develop. And then once I realized I could do that, I think then it was like, oh, I could just smoke weed while I work on my, on comics, But then I think after, however many years, it sort of became like a crutch, where it's like, oh, I have to get high in order to do this page. And so there have been a few times. Sorry to go so long about this. This wasn't planned, but I just just in these last few weeks or whatever, I have done a lot of like, I haven't really wanted to, certainly not drink, but like get high or anything. But like the times where it did kind of cross my mind is when I sat down to, oh, I have to do this illustration, I have to do this drawing. It's like, or even like specifically doing, I guess, like doing stuff in Photoshop, if I have to like, like I'm cleaning up a lot of these like tarot cards and stuff that I want to put out. And I was like, oh man, this would be so much more fun if I just took a little vape hit or something. Sure. But you know, like immediately like, oh, I don't want to go down that road because I know that if I do it, it won't really be more fun. I'll just get distracted or do whatever, you know. And I'm not saying that, you know, I'm sure I'm not everyone else has their own system, and I'm not saying that mine is good or bad or the right way or wrong way, but it's just like for me personally, I felt like it really wasn't doing it for me anymore. You know, like I don't think I was like learning or progressing as an artist. I was just sort of like relying on this thing to like, oh, I'm just bored. I'm just bored doing with life, so I want to do something that makes life seem more fun or whatever.
Oh,
But
sure.
like ultimately it's not really satisfying being like for me, not like, you know, you know, like I said, I'm 50 now and just kind of want to like sort of approach life like, okay, I want to be able to enjoy this or get through this or whatever, enjoy this journey rather than needing this other thing, you know, to.
Yeah, but there's always going to be kind of lull periods, which is a weird thing about, especially in making art. It's like sometimes just having like repetition and just being like, it's another day, you know, is necessary. Like it's interesting. The job I'm doing right now, I'm doing a comic for a video game thing that the both of us are working on, and uh, and it's requiring me to do more pages a week than I've done in a long time. And because I have like to turn them in, and it isn't just like a comic that that's for myself, like with normal thing. It's just kind of requiring me to have structure in a way that is like really satisfying, and it's nice to. It's like I realized that I was just kind of I was doing these very like I'm still making art all the time and everything, but I was very much just kind of like just being like, okay, I got an illustration job, time to draw that and everything. And with this thing, I just kind of hit me this thing where I'm like, oh, I can try to push myself again. And what happens if I get to the next level? I'm kind of an exciting place to like actually like try to see like what else can I do with my art that I haven't done in the past.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Like I feel, yeah, I'm really impressed by, you know, I mentioned this before the start recording, but I'm really impressed by the work you've been doing, and it's for this video game, and it's like it's neat, you know, because I love your personal work. It's so good, you know. You're like one of my favorite cartoonists, especially when you do like auto bio stuff. But like, it's just neat seeing you do sort of like a Euro style sci-fi like kind of like Prophet, how we did on Prophet, but it's like with Prophet, I think you only did like one issue of Prophet, right? Like you
Yeah,
redrew it and you wrote the whole thing.
sure,
So
yeah.
it's kind of neat seeing you do like, and even the issue you did felt more like, oh, this is kind of like a Brandon Graham comics. Whereas like, you know, because it was like the Eater character who's kind of more like a cartoony looking guy than like the John Prophet character. But
Yeah,
with this, it's like, oh, you're doing the John Prophet guy.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, totally. Yeah, I had a
you're
thing with
doing this cool science fiction, kind of hardcore science fiction story. It's just really neat to see that.
yeah, it's been fun. I was gonna say with Prophet, I almost had this idea that like because Simon started drawing it and then you came in and Yanni and all these guys, that I was almost like I guess with you and Simon, I was like my stuff's too cartoony compared to those. So I didn't even really want to show like a human face. And it's interesting with this, it's called Moonray, the thing they're working on now, is none of the characters have faces, and there isn't kind of this need to like Conan everything up like before. So I feel like it's like Prophet without the tethers in some way, because Prophet there was always like we had the Liefeld stuff to kind of work off of in a way, but
Mm.
this
Well, this is neat because it's sort of like anti-Liefeld as far as like storytelling and stuff goes. Like I notice with those pages that you've been doing, you get this like really cool sense of scale, to where like most of the images of the main character are really small, and
mhm.
it's like the environment is the thing, or like the creatures, like the Mium Theater guys and stuff, are like kind of took up a third of the page, whereas the main the main character is like sort of like a little tiny little figure moving throughout the space, and it adds this. I don't know. It's like, and yeah, because you don't need to see his facial expressions or
He doesn't have a face.
yeah, doesn't have a
Yeah,
face.
I can describe. He's basically like a white. He's basically like looks like a white guy made out of like white, solid white, made out of clay, and he has like a big cubey arm and then a human arm, and his feet are kind of these point things. So he's very kind of stylized in silhouette. And the cool
Middle-aged white guy. Come on.
Yes, middle aged is just Steve Johnson. His his the meme feeders you mentioned are basically like these weird alien wolves that you designed, and it was really fun to take a drawing that you had done and basically try to draw it in my style.
I love seeing that too. Yeah,
It's
that was
really
probably of all the stuff I've designed, that was probably my favorite thing that I've done.
that's
So
definitely
that was cool seeing you sort of take it and add stuff to it, like the little tongues coming out of their whatever the maw that they have, you know.
Oh yeah, because you basically do that. They look like they're made out of like ceramics almost, and they have like kind of a hole in the front of their face. And so I was trying to think like how it would like eat something. So I just have these gross little hoop tongues that come out of it.
Yeah, it's neat. One of the things that we were talking like right before we started recording, so hopefully, okay, I segue into this, but like we were like, oh, let's wait and do this on the podcast because this might actually be, you know, some relevant, interesting thing. Is like there was a page that Brandon did, that you did, Brandon, you know, where you had something that you probably, I don't even know how much you thought about this, but to me it's like my brain doesn't work like this as well. I mean, I'm trying to train it to think more like this kind of stuff, but you have such a cool language, like a visual language that you use. So it's like this first panel on this page, you had it was almost like a word balloon within a panel, but like the word balloon, instead of having text, was sort of like a magnification of what was going on in the far background. So you could see this like tiny little character, and then it was like blown up within the word. I don't know another word for that other than a word balloon. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the way I describe it is basically I have a big shot where it's a character and he's hiding behind a pillar and he's looking out and he's seeing this stuff, and so that's like the main panel for the top of the page. And then I had another panel that's basically his reaction, and I have basically a word balloon tail pointing at the guy, at the smaller version of hiding behind the panel. So it not only works as its own panel, it's almost just like a pointer, like that's where he is in the bigger panel. So you don't have to Where's Waldo find him.
Yeah, I love that. And so it was neat because I'm working on, you know, kind of slowly chipping away on my own comic. Been trying to do like, oh, I'll just do it 20 minutes a day, but it kind of ends up being like an hour a day.
Sure.
And there was I wasn't saying that I was having like a challenge with this page, but there was an idea that I got of like, oh, I want this character in the background to be saying stuff, but I don't want to just add a bunch of like text, you know, and just have the reader assume they know who's saying it.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that page of yours, it was almost weirdly like identical, not identical, but to me it was like very similar to the composition that I had on this Robot Todd page. So then I was just like, oh, I'll just do what Brandon did, and in the second panel have have that like technique. You know, mine's going to be more like a round like word balloon style, but like basically have this character appear in that balloon and saying the stuff, rather than just have it just be like a traditional like, you know, dialogue box.
Yeah, I like that back and forth a lot. It's funny because something that I'm always taking in my recent work that I got from you is doing placeholder dialogue and then allowing myself to do the final stuff. Because something that slows me down a lot is I would sit there and stress out about like, what do the characters say on this page? Because I don't really work from full scripts. I kind of have a rough idea and then I rework everything as I go. And just letting myself basically be like, they basically say this, and then drawing the page, and then once I have like 5 or 6 pages done, I can go back and rework the dialogue. And now with this comic, because I'm working off of a font, off of my lettering, it's really easy for me to just like scroll some placeholder dialogue, and then like even the pages that I've shown you so far, I've already have notes in my head before anyone else sees them about how to go and tweak the dialogue a little bit. And it's a really cool way to not feel like that part is locked in. It just speeds me up in general.
Nice, awesome. Yeah, I loved your last book for Image, and I remember there was a couple of pages that when I was reading it, because I really liked that it felt like super personal to me. I don't know why I'm fucking blanking on the name of.
Oh, Rain Like Hammers.
Thank you, Rain Like Hammers. Shit, man, sorry. It's like I actually have like. I was gonna go grab it, but it's in the other room, and I don't want to disrupt our flow here. But an issue of that folded open by my desk, you know, because I have the trade and everything, obviously, but like I still have like all the floppies, and I might even have like a couple extra copies of certain floppies. But this one is like this spread I like so much, and it was like there's something about the color palette and the way the character was moving through the space and all that. I was like, oh, I wonder if Brandon, not to be like, toot my own horn or whatever, but it felt very, even though I mean, I loved it and it was unique, but it felt like, oh, I wonder if Brandon got like inspired by Proxima Centauri.
Oh yeah, no,
something about that spread that felt very much like a scene that I had in my book.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of, because Proxima Centauri really helped me get through Rain Like Hammers because I was really struggling to enjoy making comics right then. And I remember the ways that I saw you having fun, because we were hanging out a lot while I was working on that, obviously.
We lived together. I did the first 3 issues. Well,
yeah,
we were living together.
So I mean, how could you not influence my stuff? And just like seeing you work, there's something, I always feel like there's a little bit of a loss when you get to know someone really well that you like can't really react to their work like a fan. But I feel like the trade-off with your stuff is I get more out of all the work. Like James Stokoe is like, good friend of mine, but I almost look at his work less now since knowing him as I did. Like when he's around, I look at his comics less than when I do. But for you, I still read a lot of your comics, even I guess because James also does a bunch of like Marvel and DC stuff. So it's almost like Batman, he didn't write it. Never mind,
Yeah, I get that. But yeah, James is a genius. I used to describe him as having all of your strengths and none of your weaknesses.
Oh yeah, because that's in Blade. They always call Wesley Snipes that when he's the Daywalker. He has all.
I was just thinking because when Wonton Soup came out, it was I didn't necessarily think it was like derivative of your work, but like there's I remember hearing a lot of talk where like, oh, he draws like Brandon. I was like, well, James probably doesn't enjoy people saying that all the time because he's like his own guy, but like. Sure, I like how you just sort of owned it. I was thinking it's like you just sort of owned it and we're like, oh yeah, he draws like me, but he's better than me, kind of. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that either, but I think that was sort of
that, I mean, I definitely think I have my wheelhouse, but there's things that like if someone was like draw a bunch of detailed monsters, you or James, I'd be like, that's not a competition. He'd kill me in that, But yeah, but yeah, I think it's cool knowing the people and getting kind of other versions of how they work and everything. Yeah, and yeah, I think that with Rain Like Hammers, there's a big aspect of it where I wasn't trying to be funny and I wasn't really trying to like amuse people as much as entertain myself as much as I did in past work. And a lot of what I got out of your work was looking at it and being like, Farel's work has value and he doesn't do that. So what do I value about Farel's work? And kind of pulling, like seeing how you talk about your personal, like, because a lot of stuff that you were doing in Proxima Centauri was the internal monologue of the characters talking about like oh, I feel like a jerk because of this, and I was like, that's a really real thing that I know that you think about.
I was going through a lot of stuff back then. Yeah, it was pretty miserable.
Yeah, so I think that's really cool. Oh yeah, I have it on my lap, so I'll mention it. I don't know if we've podcasted since I started, but I've been lettering my friend Wyatt and Luana's Bolero book for Image lately, and it's been a really interesting process. That's kind of why I created the font that I'm now using on a bunch of stuff. And it's funny, I still hand letter some things when it's like when I'm just like kind of in the middle of the page, and I'll be like, oh, they can say this right here, but it's almost like I don't have to hand letter it. It makes it kind of more fun. And when I started lettering this thing, something interesting about it is I would actually, anything that wasn't a font I already made, I would go in and like draw on paper and then scan in and place it. And something that's been fun is I've gotten more comfortable with it. So it's just like, I'll do sound effects and I'll just do it with a mouse.
Speaking of a mouse, look at this guy.
Oh yeah, you do it with a cat.
You didn't like that, I did that.
He's like,
so is that book's out now, right, from Image?
Yeah, I think this issue comes out this week. This is issue 4, and it's a 5-issue limited series, and these gigantic, like 50-page issues.
Is that named after the Ravel opera?
I believe it is, yeah.
Okay, not the Derek movie.
Look it up.
Can you hear me okay? Is my sound all right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, what other stuff you've been
I like you got the Mobius Chaos book over your right shoulder there.
Oh yeah, I've been digging up.
I always have that near my desk too. And then you have the who's the guy, why am I blanking on that? You have the guy sitting on your shoulder basically every time I do a Zoom or Skype with you. What was that?
Asterix. My old landlord, Chris Ing, gave me that like back in Vancouver, BC. He was like the only landlord that I became friends with, and we're still in touch. But yeah, it's one of those things that I've carried with me through like 6 different apartments. Let's see. Oh, I got a stack of books here. I've been on a big Paul Pope kick again.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Oh yeah, my last Patreon, I just kind of went through why this book's so cool and weird.
That was
Um,
a good Patreon post too. I don't know if you saw it. Probably commented on it.
oh yeah, appreciate it. Oh yes, this one's really funny because Pope would do this thing with this and with his Buzz book. Oh, I've got that here too. I've got the cover. Um,
Oh, that's another great one too.
yeah, he would do a thing where he would publish his unfinished comics and he'd be like, "Ah, this one didn't work out, but here's 50 pages of it."
Like Smoke
And,
Navigator. Yeah.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
that would be a finished comic for me. I
Yeah,
would just
like
publish that as by itself and be like, here you
it,
go.
well, Smoke Diver is really interesting because it ran in Buzz, I should say, but it like it's a finished self-contained comic that he then later reworked to be 100%. You
Oh,
know,
really?
it's the
Huh.
basic storyline, but he took the character that was basically like this guy who left town because of his girlfriend's suicide and returned and is like has all these like mafia ties and everything. He made him just like a busboy. And so it's almost like he made a more grounded, less genre version of it when he did the 100% thing.
Well, and Smoke Navigator felt like Badlands to me or something, where it was like really open and there's like desert wastelands, and 100% is like urban. It's like
Yeah,
super.
well, I think he did it before New York, and the 100% he did after he moved to New York.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, maybe it was like Columbus, Ohio vibes or something, and Smoke
Yeah,
Navigator.
even LA, and I've got some old issues of THB. I'm looking at some newer old issues of THB. This one, I think this is like I was looking at this and it was blowing. This is
It's
THB
so good. So good.
6D. So like Pope did, remember he did 5 issues of THB as a monthly. I think the issue I have here is number
And he
3.
did like a few of issue 6 that were different
Yeah,
letters,
did
right?
A, B, C, and D, and maybe I think he's at A, B, C, and D.
Did
But
Jeff
like,
Smith do the cover of one of them too?
yeah, he did. But this one was just like I was like, this is like peak cartooning. This
It's
is
so good. I actually I don't really write. I know you talk to Pope and stuff some, and I don't really talk to any other. I'm just sort of like more of an isolated person and not good at correspondence. But like, I think when after I read that, I wrote him like an email. I mean, wasn't a letter, but I wrote him an email. It was like, oh my God, that action scene, the fight scene with like THB and like that's the one right where they're like flying through the air and she's like trying to reach for the thing through the fence and all that. Is that same issue?
oh, that's the issue after this actually. So
Okay, shit. Okay.
this is the one where
But they're really thick. They're like super meaty issues.
yeah, it was weird because it almost felt like he was showboating because it was like 6 was just like yeah, this is 96 pages for $5. Like it's just like there's just nothing that could compete with that on the shelves at the time where it's just like it's basically a graphic novel every month of this like peak cartoonist doing like some of his best work ever.
Is that the one with the lithographer where he's drawing
Yeah.
the, and so it's like a few pages of just a hand draws beautiful hands.
Yeah,
And a hand with a litho crayon just going to town, like doing these like kind of abstract drawings, and it's like, wow, yeah, those are that was a weird time too. I think I've talked to you about this before, but it was like going to the comic shop. It was like it almost didn't really even register how amazing of a time it was because it was like Bone was coming out then. Like I think like Sin City maybe was coming out around then. It was like THB. There was like so many good like independent comics that were like, actually on the bookshelf. It like made me want to be a part of it or something. So remember like going to, and it's like now I don't know I guess how it is now, but I feel like yeah that was like a really I sound like a boomer or something, but I feel like it's like a really special time for comics.
no, yeah, I just checked the date. It was 2002 for this one. So yeah, me and you are in New York because I was in New York from '99 to 2005. So that
Yeah,
was
me too.
yeah,
From 96 to 2005.
yeah, yeah. When everyone decided to leave. Yeah, that was a good time. And I know it's funny because I've taken a real conscious like break from going to the comic store lately. And I kind of had this attitude like because I was going to before I moved to Vegas, I was going every week to Cosmic Monkey. It was an amazing store and I had a really cool relationship with all the people that worked there, and me and my girlfriend would just go and like buy comics every week and then read them, and it was really
Got a
fun.
full
But, like,
box there.
but I kind of like there's some amazing books that were coming out and everything, but I just kind of felt like I was like if I skipped comics going in every week for a year or 2 years or whatever, when I come back I'd find the good stuff. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? It,
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice to just check out a little bit and read the stuff that I have in my house. Like I still have the whole set of Asterix I've never read here. Well, I've had the nerve to have this Stolen Valor. That's exciting. What else have I got? I've got One Trick Ripoff here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I picked up
Okay.
in LA. I picked up one of the Blueberry books in French.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I thought this was great because I was looking at for the Moonray stuff. I was just like, oh, it's just a bunch of cool shots of deserts and stuff. And
So it's not part of the series. It's just sort of like an art book related to
this
Blueberry.
it's a Blueberry issue, but it's all in French, so I can't read it. So I just look at the pretty pictures.
Well, it's funny because that cover looks so. I mean, it's obviously Mobius doing it, but it looks so not like a typical Blueberry.
Yeah, this is one that he heavily referenced from just like a 1970s ad.
Oh, okay. That would make.
Which is really cool because like that's an interesting segue because recently I pissed off the Twilight Facebook group by just drawing. Sometimes I'll just take. It's kind of funny. Sometimes I just take screenshots of stuff on my phone on Instagram, and someone did like a meme with a picture from a screenshot from Twilight, and I just thought that the main actress lady looked pretty, like leaning forward playing chess or whatever, and I was like, oh, that's a nice pose. And so I was just drawing on my sketchbook, like redrawing it. I kind of just turn off my brain and do a sketch. And then I didn't want to draw the dude. And so I just drew Barba Papa on there. I didn't want to draw, I should say, I didn't want to draw Edward because I'm Team Jacob till I die. But so I drew.
I have no idea what you're talking about, man. Which one is
dumb
Batman?
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson is all the guy I know, but.
Yeah, totally. So anyway, I drew Barba Papa in there, and I colored it real quick and scanned it, and I liked how it looked, so I just posted it on Instagram. I didn't really say anything about it. I was just like, here's a sketchbook drawing. And I went to sleep, and the next morning I woke up and there was like 6 messages being like, you thief, you stole this drawing, you stole this scene from Twilight.
Well, that's just idiotic, you know. I don't even think that you can even blame like a whole group of people. That's just like a few people that are just ignorant of how comics or art works.
Yeah, it was funny because I actually back and forth.
A reference photo, you're referencing something. You're not stealing anything.
Yeah, and it's like I still had to draw the thing. So yeah, I back and forth with the couple people. It was really fascinating. There was like it was funny. Their Facebook group had like 100 messages complaining about me, and I was just like, you know, and I just the internet's a nightmare, obviously. So
well, what are you doing on Facebook? It's losers.
I just looked at that because someone sent me the link and they were just like, oh, I saw these crazy people talking about you, and I was like, oh, weird. And I just looked through it and it was kind of funny because it's so outside of comics and people just having these weird assumptions about me. And then I would respond to someone and they'd post a screenshot and be like, look at this entitled asshole, because somebody wrote me like this isn't how art works, and I wrote them back and I was like, I've been doing this for like 30 years. It's pretty much how it works. And they had like a kind of blocked anonymous account or something, and I was like, I don't know why I should listen to some fucking stranger on the internet telling me how to do my job.
You really shouldn't.
Yeah, no, I said that back to them, and they were just like, how entitled? And I was just like, what insane person reaches out to a stranger and tell them they're doing that they did a drawing wrong? So that was an interesting.
It is weird. I just figure like Facebook and stuff, all that stuff is. If I sound like I'm defending any of those people, it's not the case because
No.
Fuck all them. But like, and I don't mean a Twilight fan group. That's great. But like anyone that would like attack someone for copying, or not copying, but just looking at a photograph as reference and then doing a drawing based off a photograph. I mean that. Since cameras have been a thing, that's what people have done.
Yeah, that's just and Mobius is like such a. I
did an abashed thief for that. I mean, he does it all the time.
Yeah. It's funny with Blueberry covers because he'll literally take like. My favorite one is he took just like the Dances with Wolves video box art and he just redrew it as a. But also he's Mobius, so it's so fucking beautiful that you're just like, yeah, fucking, take it.
Yeah, exactly. What was the? I could see like in some circumstances, like I remember when we were kids, or I was a kid. I guess you were a kid too then, since I'm older than you. Do you remember that Doctor Strange cover that was like an Amy Grant? Basically, like someone had I forgot who the artist was, but there was a Doctor Strange cover that came out, and I don't know if the artist intentionally was like, oh, Amy Grant's a Christian. She's like a contemporary Christian singer that was like real popular, and did that because of that, or just like, oh, I like this person's face, So he actually had her likeness on the cover as like Clea or something like that. And I think they got sued because it was like, oh, you appropriated an image of this Christian lady who doesn't want to be associated with a magical superhero or whatever. Which I was like, okay, that's legit in the sense of like, that's her face. She should, you know, I guess, okay, don't use my face to sell your product. Like, fair enough. You know, like Crispin Glover did with the Back to the Future thing. I'm like totally Team Glover. But like to take like a composition or to do like an homage or do like a, you know, oh, I like the way this picture looks and I'm going to draw Blueberry as, you know, Dances Wolves guy. It's like, what? That's just how you did stuff, you know, how you do stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if I would do the Mobius thing where if there was like an established like famous movie poster just redrawing it. I don't think I would go that far, but I'm certainly fine like
well, like Robert McGinnis would hire models to come and like pose
sure.
for all those like pulp covers because like he was like this, you know, but like Mobius had to churn out these pages page after page. It's like he was taking whatever. He probably just had a magazine, you know, like a file folder, like magazines that he just ripped pictures out of. Like, oh, I like this cowboy, another cowboy drawing, another cowboy.
I have a theory that's tied to Mobius's longevity too, because he kind of would let himself have fun in ways that a lot of other artists don't. Like in just doing a redraw of getting an illustration job and just doing a redraw of a photo he thought was cool, because that's the thing I do for fun, and that he can make that his 9 to 5 day job. I think it made him like enjoy art more through his whole life.
Yeah, totally. He was the best.
So I got Stell here too because I was looking at desert. And it's funny too because I look at a lot of photos of deserts too, and then I'm also like, how did Mobius reinterpret these? Because he has such cool lines. I want to have a
Stell is in Adina, right? That's one of the Adina books.
Yeah. It's
yeah. I used that Adina book. I just saw Jeffro Kilpatrick was doing like a drink and draw in Philadelphia last night, and he had the Adina book sitting on the table as like reference.
Oh, cool.
I was like, oh yeah, I always have that handy too. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, Mobius is very good. Yeah, and I have a Alex Toth. Do you dare enter the House of Mystery thing?
I dare.
I dare.
Like that, they should have that when you open the first page. Like, looks like you dared.
Look like you dare. Good daring, dude.
Darren Aronofsky did.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been up to anything? You've been watching anything? You've been reading anything?
Well, I just got some. Yeah, I have been actually. I got bunch of shit, but am I swearing too much? I can't remember if this is a swear.
No, you're not fucking swearing a freaking
ding dong, dang it, damn,
wiener corn dog. Yeah.
Just the rest of the podcast is this thing. Yeah, I picked this up from Books with Pictures. You know that store in town. Actually, I should have brought that up too, but a lot of the stuff that I've gotten recently is in different rooms. I should have brought it here. But I got this book by Jonathan Case. It just came out, and while I was there, I also picked up this Cyclops and Worm.
Oh.
And it's Soph Franz and Graham Barry. And I admit it, I got it because Sophie's a friend of mine, and I was like, oh, I want to get this. It's a comics jam, and yeah, it's pretty cool because it's sort of like I guess it's like a jam, you know, like an Exquisite Corpse, where like one person would draw a couple panels and the next person would draw a couple panels back and forth, and it's like it's pretty silly, but yeah. And I just in the mail because I looked around town for this. I just got her Experts book.
Oh, cool.
I got a floppy, and I haven't even opened them yet, but I bought a bunch of like Love and Rockets of the newer issue.
Oh, cool.
On this website because I was at Books with Pictures, like, do you have any of that Love and Rockets? And then I looked around. I didn't go to Floating World yet, but I couldn't find them, so I just was like, I'll just get them from this same website. Website's called Gutter Pop. And then I did this on like a whim, where I got a Fox book. Excuse me, where I was like, I'm trying to. Well, I have a Fox character in my Robot Todd pages.
Yeah. And
so I kept getting frustrated trying to redraw the Fox. And so the other day I just was like, I'm just going to do a study of a Fox. And I like looked at an internet picture of it. Even though I've drawn foxes a bunch of times, I feel like it's just always, you know, I can't retain it. But yeah, this looked like a fun picture book where, you know, there's a bunch
That's
of images
photo
of
boxes.
Fox.
I find paper reference so much more satisfying to work from than just internet stuff.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, so I still have like stacks of National Geographics and things. I mean, I moved here, so I feel like I got rid of, but I did hold on to some specific photography books. Like I have like any like Japanese design mag. Oh, this is a Playboy from the 70s with no cover here.
Nice.
Some nakeds. Excuse me, some nakeds in here.
There's nakeds in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she's pretty like my mom. That's the thing I got from you, and I don't remember where it's from.
It's from the state.
Okay, good.
It was like Tom Lennon and I think it was Tom Lennon and Michael Ian Black, and they're like little kids. And I think Steve Hawker, Stardog, told me about it originally, and then I ended up watching it, where they're like these like two little kids, you know, they're pretending to be little kids, and they're like, "What do you want to do today? I don't know, I'm bored." I'm totally messing this up. And they're like, "You want to do this?" And it's like some crazy thing. And so like one of the things was like, "You want to go to New York?" And I'm like, "Okay." And then just like they're in like a strip club, and it's just like you just see like their heads at like the rack, and then you see like two legs, you know, it's like, oh, they're like looking at a stripper, and they're like, "You're pretty." "Yeah, pretty like my mom."
That is something that I got from you, and I have said it several times in strip clubs, and it's always around people like, "What the fuck are you saying?"
Yeah, it's so weird, but it's like it makes sense in the context of like, oh, it's funny because they're like little kids and they don't really, you know, they're not, they don't, yeah. I think we get the joke without having me explain it. uh,
I heard something. It's totally non sequitur, but I was just thinking this, and I heard something because I was just at a wedding this last weekend. My friends Robin and Serena got married, and I was in the wedding party and everything. But
geez, what a brag!
yeah, I wore a suit for I rented a suit for the first time. I texted you the image because I was like, "This is me in a suit." I actually rented it. And,
oh right, I want to see this image that you're talking about. Because I was imagining it was like a full-on tuxedo with tails.
No, it was just like a.
Oh, nice black suit. Okay. And who's this you're holding here in the picture?
That's my friend Kate. That she's there. She's really into me carrying her, and she normally when you carry a lady, she'll like try to help out, but her thing is she'll just go completely limp, and so I'm like having to
dead weight basically.
Dead weight. It's a lot of work. So I'll like try to hold her for a little while, and it's like kind of constant. She'll literally walk up to me and just stick her leg up, like pick me up.
Well, I like how you're not really even smiling in the picture. It looks really perfunctory, where you're just like, okay, I'm holding a thing in my arms and I'm waiting for it to be over.
But the story that I got from there was this one woman there who's like a truck driver who was talking about another woman that she did that was in the adult entertainment industry who was getting a lot of work done on their face and everything, and they botched it at one point, and they'd got tattooed eyebrows that they did above their eyebrows, and they shaved their eyebrows, and they were too high and they looked too surprised. So eventually they gave up on it and let their real eyebrows grow back, and they had 2 sets of eyebrows that they just wore bangs over it. And I thought that was such an interesting idea for like a villain character or something, where it's just like someone with 4 eyebrows.
I've heard of 4 eyes, but 4 eyebrows.
Yeah, I wonder if they wore glasses. I should ask.
They should draw eyeballs underneath the eyebrows.
Oh, that'd be good. Then you could sleep, just walk around with your eyes closed, sleep alone. Put your glasses up, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I did a drawing once for a comic book store. I'm blanking on their name. They're in the South somewhere. Sacred, something with sacred. Anyway, and I had the main, you know, the image had a bunch of figures on it, but the main figure was a girl that had 2 sets of eyeballs.
Oh, nice. Did she have eyebrows on the second set?
I think so. Yeah. Maybe even was wearing glasses too.
Nice. Oh, I wonder, would 4 eyeball, that'd be an interesting thing if you had something in a story where someone found 4 eyeball glasses and not the person. They're just like, what the hell? Do you have several ears, or do you have a thing where do like a little tower and then just one set?
Yeah, she just had 1 set of ears. I was thinking of it like it was like the third eye kind of thing. You know, like I think when they suggested, you know, I asked them, like, well, what do you guys like? And they're like, oh, something witchy and this and that. And I guess really went kind of went on like modern witch idea, no pointy hat or anything, just kind of like what's like a weird kind of metaphysical vibe.
Yeah. Oh, one of the other people I ran into is a kind of friend of mine in Vegas. This woman who's got her ears turned into like pointy elf ears, like surgically changed.
Okay.
Really cool. They look just like an elf ears, and
or Vulcan, depending on what you're.
well, I think that's the thing. She's more into the Vulcan side of it. And she said it messed up her hearing a little bit, so she was doing this sometimes because it was a bunch of people around at the wedding. But I asked her.
It's one of those like horns, those old lady, old timey horns. Like
I was asking if she had to, if she felt like she had to become an expert on elves, but she was like, no, not really. But she knows a ton about Vulcans. But I think she got the ears because she knows so much about Vulcans. And that reminded me of you because me and you were always talking about Star Trek, and she was saying that her favorite of all time was DS9, and so I think I'm going to have to revisit that soon. So maybe we'll do some DS9 podcasts in the future.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, DS9 really picks up to the third season.
Okay, because I'm really
spiced up once Worf gets in there and stuff. Oh man, there's this episode, so good. I probably shouldn't spoil it, but where he basically, you remember like the Jem'Hadar and all that. Jem'Hadar, I don't know their name, but I feel like in that show that's sort of where they were featured first. But there's this scene where because on Star Trek, on Next Generation, he never really got. He always is getting his ass kicked. I think they're always using him to be like, oh, this other guy is really powerful, so he beats up Worf. I felt like Worf never got to really shine, but when he was on DS9, there's an episode where he like takes out 3 of those guys in a row.
Nice.
Do you remember that? Did you see that?
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, it's so good. So he's like, they're prisoners, and like, so the Jem'Hadar are like they're just like ultimate warrior guys, and so like it's like a fight to the death, and so he keeps like, they're like almost gonna kill it, and he fights. The first fight he takes him out pretty quick, and the second one it takes him a little longer, and the third one it's like really like a struggle, but he is victorious. Thanks. And then I think like they're gonna do another one, and the guy's like, the main Jem'Hadar is like, no. He's proven himself to be, so we'll let him. We'll save him. He is a real warrior. I don't know. It was like a good Worf moment that I really appreciate. It's been years since I've seen it, so yeah, I'd like to do that. Watch those.
Because I'm currently of the belief that the Voyager is my favorite Star Trek.
Okay, Voyager's great. Yeah, I really like Voyager. I think because my favorite characters on it is Tuvok, the Vulcan on Voyager. Yeah. Tim Russ, played by Tim Russ. He was cool. He was cool because he had Spock was great, obviously, but like Spock was just like super smooth, like, oh, I'll just take out this guy with like a neck pinch or whatever. But like I felt like Tim Russ really brought in like martial arts and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like when you see him fight, you're just like, oh, okay, that looks like a cool fighting style. I don't know if it was like a real thing or whatever, but it felt like, and he had this like amazing loyalty to Janeway. Uh-huh. And it's like a third season again, like they do this like year in hell where it's like they just get their ass kicked and it's like their ships all gets messed up and everything. And yeah, there's like this really good bond that they had that, it's getting me kind of misty just thinking about it.
Yeah. I like his relationship to Neelix a lot, because it feels like kind of one-sided, but then they kind of learn to respect each other and become friends.
Yeah, Neelix, so annoying.
He sucks so much, but I feel like that show, what it does with a lot of characters, it introduces them, and you're like, I hate this guy. What's he doing here? And then by the end of the show, you're like, I will die for this character. I love him forever.
Well, and I like too that it seems more about the characters dealing with a conflict.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's supposed to be evolved and this like, oh, it's so far in the future that everyone doesn't, everyone's just super good and cool and, works together really well. And then you get like a guy like Neelix in there, it's like gets on everyone's nerves. Yeah. Like, oh, why are you being like this? Come on. But it's like them having to sort of deal with that kind of gives them more like humanity.
So Carrie Kim remains the lamest character on that for me.
Yeah. Yeah, him and Paris. There's like a few guys that were just sort of like, eh.
I'm sold on Paris though. I loved Paris from day one.
That actor and Tim Russ, they both played different characters on different Star Trek shows too.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, like the actor who played Paris was actually in the Wesley Crusher episode of Next Generation where he like gets kicked out of Starfleet.
Oh, that's right. And that's interesting because it's kind of like Paris's arc because he is like a child of a general.
Yeah, and he was in jail when they recruited him. Like
Yeah,
he had done something. So I actually thought it was the same character at first. I'm like, oh, he has a different name, and So I don't know why they should have just had it be the same guy. I don't know. But Tim Russ actually plays like I think he was like maybe an alien in one episode, but there's one episode I remember where it was the sort of Die Hard episode with Picard. He like there's like a bunch of criminals and Picard on the Enterprise.
I remember that
He has
one.
to defeat them all, and he's just one of the bad guys. And then later it's like, oh, it's that guy that was on that episode. He's Tuvok, who's my favorite character now. Yeah, Star Trek's great, man. I even like the. I mean, I got some problems with Discovery. I really like it, but you know, uh, but Picard, I've been enjoying the second season a lot more than the first
I've
one.
heard so much good stuff about the second season being better than the first one, but I don't know if I'm ready to go back. I'm basically like the new Star Trek. I feel like Star Trek I am with comic book stores where I'm like I'll check it out in a couple years.
Yeah, I think except for Next Generation, I feel like I've done that with just about every Star Trek show.
Yeah, because I didn't want to watch Voyager for years, and then
Same here.
pandemic, it was like my daily.
Well, for me, it was like I was like a teenager when Next Generation was coming out, and the first episode I was so excited about it, and I loved it for the first couple years. But then I got a little slightly too old. It was like the teenage years where I'm like, I don't want to watch TV shows. That's babies.
Yeah.
And then I revisited it later. And same thing with DS9, where I was like super into it at first, and I was like, and then I watched all of them as like a grown up. And Voyager, I didn't watch at all when it came out. Same thing with that. So with these new ones, I'm my older age, I'm kind of more of a TV junkie. So I'll watch just about anything now. But that first season of Picard was really annoying. Like having Picard wear like a beret and an eye patch and like I'm Frenchie or whatever. It's like so weird and like.
Is that what Wolverine? What was Wolverine called himself Patch? It was even worse.
No, Patch rules. Are you kidding me?
It
was so good.
He's got his
Patch rules
hair that no one's ever had on the planet, and he just is not a normal human at all. And he puts on an eye patch. He's like, no one will recognize me.
You're wrong about that, man. It was such a good run of Wolverine. It was like Larry Hama. I mean, I like the Chris Claremont stuff before, with like John Buscema. It was great. But when Larry Hama and Silvestri took over Wolverine, so good. It was like so good. I love that shit, man.
We'll go back and read that because I really like the John Buscema first issue of that one Wolverine series where he has the kind of dark stuff over his eyes.
Yeah, and that was like that. I think where Patch came from. I don't know if it was in the. It must have been in those. It must have been in those Chris Claremont issues where because it was all in Madripoor. Mm-hmm. Wasn't in like New York or wherever upstate. X-Men world. It was like in a different world. But when Larry Hama came in, he brought in all this like just really cool. Like I remember there was like a drug, like a rage drug that people would take, and like just the way like the ninjas and stuff were, where they were like, there was like one where it was like these three dudes were standing and they had a dragon across their back, and Wolverine's was like, he's like, what? That's supposed to impress me? I knew a sailor that could make a hula girl do the hoochie coochie by flexing his arm. That was cool. I forgot exactly how he said it, but my teenage self really enjoyed that. But yeah, maybe we should discuss some of those Wolverine Patch. I know you're not super down with Patch, but
Wolverine is Patch Adams, where he just comes in. His kids are dying. I got to make them laugh. Yeah, I'm down with that. Yeah, because that's the cool thing is we are just jumping back in this with no plan. But I always enjoy the episodes where like we got stuff to do. We all read this show and read this comic and watched this show. Let's talk about it. So yeah, we'll make another list and start going through it. We can start asking people on Instagram what they would like to hear us talk about too.
Totally. I even made the suggestion of Brandon, which you haven't addressed, as watching the new Halo show, which I'm really enjoying.
I'm down with the clown. I'll watch some. I'll watch Halo. I know so little about it. I know that it is a video game, and
I knew that as much as I knew too. Is that I've never played Halo video game, but I've seen some CGI stuff from it. That's about it.
Okay, yeah, I'll do it. There's a video video game YouTuber, a friend of mine, who's doing like a Halo video this week too, and I mean, she's taking my girlfriend out to the desert to film some stuff in an outfit. So it's a perfect timing. So I need an excuse to be like, I know what you guys are talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I watched the first 3 episodes of the show, and I just really was enjoying it.
Okay.
But it might not have anything to do with the video game or
Don't have-
I know you said Mobius did a Halo comic too, right?
Yeah, I'll send that to you because I have a digital version of that. And yeah, we'll do a whole Halo TV show Mobius comic thing. Yeah, the Mobius comic's weird. I know it has a lot of panels in it, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty because it's Mobius, but it's weird. It's one
like, oh, my kid likes this thing, so I'll just do a comic of it.
I think that's literally why he did it. But it's probably one of the only Mobius things in English that I've never read. I just basically saved it because I found it and was like, I'll get back to that later.
Dark Horse put that out, right?
Sure. And I believe it had an Ashley Wood cover.
Okay. Should have the Mobius cover. I mean, nothing against Ashley Wood, but come on, Mobius.
Yeah. Yeah, we're at like an hour now. Should we call this the first episode of our return?
Sure.
Excellent. Well, good talking to you, Farrell.
You too. It's fun.
Yes. Again soon.